Good evening, page 306. Ayin Eitz Chaim Shar HaNekudas.
How many lines have we had?
About last 2 months.
Last 2 lines of. Oh, yeah, the next paragraph.
Yeah, so this is the second part of Kuntres Acharon. As we mentioned, there are 9 parts to Kuntres Acharon. The first part we did last week. Now we're going to do the second part. So one of the things that we mentioned at the beginning of last week, that one of the that in the first 5 parts, the first 5 prakim, you might want to say, of Kuntres Acharon. So the larger topic is machshava, dibur, maisa, the role each one of them plays. And last week, the Alter Rebbe quoted from the Zohar, where the Zohar says that hirur le'ovid midi, that just thinking doesn't do anything, which is why it requires a maisa mitzvah. We have to do a mitzvah. Some mitzvahs, they're not we don't do them, but at least at the very least we have to speak. We have to say something. But hirur, just thoughts alone don't accomplish anything. And last week already the Alter Rebbe explained what that means, that the hamshacha molmata, that to bring down the oyer down here into this world, it's dafka through a maisa, as opposed to your thoughts and your feelings. They can have a profound impact above, but they don't actually bring down any energy down here into this world. So we're going to continue a little on this topic of hirur of the media. Why is it that when we think words of Torah, why is it that doesn't have any impact? So Alter Rebbe says, Ayin Eitz Chaim Shar HaNekudas. Alter Rebbe says, take a good look.
You want?
You know, if you look in,
Want water?
I'm fine. If you look on the page beforehand, in the beginning of Kuntres Acharon, it starts off with Ayin B'Likuti Amarim Chelak Aleph Perek Mem. So we know that there's that book that you're reading over there, Lessons in Tanya.
Yeah.
So that's a translation of the Yiddish. The Yiddish, the Sefer is called Shiurim B'Sefer Tanya.
Oh, yeah.
And where is that taken from? Because there was Tanya Shiurim given on the radio every single week for Rabbi Weinberg, Rabbi Yosel Weinberg. Gave it for many years, and he wrote up his shiurim, and he wrote up his shiurim in advance, and the Rebbe would look them over. And a lot of the comments from the Ha'aris on Tanya that we have, it's what the Rebbe wrote on those papers. So over there, the Rebbe wrote a comment on the Ayin. It says Ayin B'Likuti Amarim. The Rebbe wrote just I think 3 words: Ayin v'loi re'eh. Doesn't say see. Ayin. Ayin means to be iyun, right? Right. Ayin is re'eh means take a look over there. You'll see. Ayin means to to think deep, delve deeply, and think deeply about what it's saying. So Ayin Eitz Chaim Shar HaNekudas. Take a look closely and deeply. Eitz Chaim Shar HaNekudas Shar Ches Perek Vav. What does it say over there? She'ein hachzaras panim bepanim ki'im al yidei mitzvahs ma'asi yeznafka. That in order to turn, that it should be face to face, it's only through mitzvahs ma'asiyas. Only through action mitzvahs. V'tam hadavar, what is the reason? Why dafke ma'asiyas? Ki ayidei ma'asim toivim, that through our ma'asim toivim geirim ziv v'ge'elyin v'chulu, we cause the supernal unity. So what's going on over here? So we know when Adam Rishon was created, so originally Adam was created together with Chava, and as we know, Chazal tell us, unlike what would seem from the simple meaning of the pasuk, is that the tzela is a rib, which then again that's a valid interpretation, and there are definitely mefarshim that say that I think even I believe the Unkelos says they translate it as a rib, but the Rashi brings out from Chazal that it's talking about a side. Tzela means a side. That Adam and Chava were created as 2 individuals, 2 bodies, but they were connected back to back. So what happens? What happens is that Hashem puts Adam Harisha to sleep, and at that time there is what's called the Nesira. It's a Kabbalistic concept called the Nesira. Nesira means the detachment, the severing. And instead of the Yichud Acher Ba'acher, which was before, and Yichud Acher Ba'acher means that they were united, but they were united back to back. Now husband and wife, they unite, but now they unite Yichud Panim Bepanim. What is the mystical significance of this? Obviously, everything that happens in Elam Haz is only a reflection of what goes on above it, because the exact same thing was happening in the higher worlds. There was this process of Yichud Acher Ba'acher, of the back to back, and then afterwards there was a yichud panim bepanim. And what the Eitz Chaim tells us that in order to have the yichud panim bepanim, in order to have the unity face to face, that required first the creation of Adam Rishon, who did mitzvahs, and once Adam Rishon did mitzvahs, then we can have yichud panim bepanim. So what is the meaning of this?
What mitzvahs did he do?
Sorry?
What mitzvahs did he do?
Shabbat Tzvi Noach, whatever he did, Maisim Tovim. Das steht, Aidei Maisim Tovim. So when we talk about, this is something that we've talked about many times over the course of our classes. Shalom Aleichem, Bas Machstu.
Well, question.
That in Kabbalah is very big, talking about the idea of Yichudim. Yichudim of what's called the Dechar and Nukva, of the male and the female aspects or elements within the within Elokus, within godliness. You know, in Kabbalah, when we talk about the male and female aspects or elements within Elokus, so Elokus, we're talking about the world of godliness is the world of Atzilus. And the world of Atzilus is a nuclear family. So you have the father and the mother. The father and the mother are Chachma and Bina. Chachma is the father. That's many you see in Kabbalah. We talk about Ava, Aleph, Vav, Aleph, which is Rashi Tevis of Abba Ve'ima. That's Chachma and Bina. And the father and the son, they have a son and a daughter. And the son and the daughter are Zah and Malchus. Zah is the sixth midas, which is the son, the male aspect. Malchus is the Nukva, is the female. And we're constantly trying to make yichudim, because every time that there's a yichud, whether a yichud of Chachman Bina, which is the yichud of Ava, or the yichud of Zah and Malchus, which is also known as the yichud of Zun. Zun is Zachar or Nekeva. And then through that, we're bringing down Eiris Elyonim down here into this world. Now it's very obvious, just like physically, the only way that you actually can have creation or procreation is when you have a yichud panim bepanim. Yichud achar ba'achar doesn't create children. In order to create children, which in the spiritual worlds, the children are the divine light that afterwards comes down here into this world, you need a yichud panim bepanim. And therefore, all of our work here in our world is to do yichudim in the higher worlds. Every time we do mitzvahs, that's why we say, l'shem yichud kutshabrichu v'shechinte. And we know kutshabrichu is the male aspect and shechinte is the female aspect. Kutshabrichu is Zah, is the six midas, and Shechina is Malchus. The purpose of this Yichudim is to bring down Eiris here into this world. Now, whenever you create a channel of energy and light here in this world, there's always a risk, and the risk is that also that some of the recipients will be unworthy of it. What's called the klipos. You have the klipos. So how do we ensure that the klipos don't receive the energy, don't leach off of the energy? And in Kabbalah, the klipos are called the thorns. They're the thorns that are in the vineyard. You have the vineyard, you have the kara, then you have the koitzim, which are the thorns. And the thorns are trying to make holes in the fruit. So the answer to that is that klipa can only receive energy from the achoraim, from the backside. Klipa cannot receive any energy from the pnimius. Why is that? Think it then practically. What is pnimius? Pnimius is something. There's something we've talked about on different occasions. There's pnimius haratzon, chitzonius haratzon. Pnimius haratzon is what I really want. Chitzonius haratzon is the achorayim, is that which I really don't really want. Klipa is a product of achorayim. Hashem doesn't really want klipa.
It's outside.
Hashem can't stand klipa. He detests klipa. It's necessary in order to have the grand plan which the Eibishter wants. He wants a world which is tachtonim, a lowly world which we make holy, but a world can't be lowly unless there's klipa. So Hashem has to make klipa, but not because he wants klipa. So klipa is a product of the chitzonius or the achorayim. From the pnimius, we say, Yoir Hashem pana v'elacha, right? Who gets the pnimius? The pnimius is Klal Yisrael. Goyim can't get from the pnimius. Goyim klipas, they only get from the chitzonius.
How do you define pnimius?
Pnimius is what Hashem really wants. Pnimius is the inner dimension of Hashem, his inner desire, his inner will. So, Zah has Acharon, has a backside. Malchus has an Acharon, and both of those are susceptible to thorns. Have thorns get caught into Zah, into Malchus, and then the Klippas get the energies. So what did Hashem do when He created the world? Very simple. He put Zah and Malchus Acher ba'acher. He put them back to back. So now what's facing outward is the front of Zah and the front of Malchus. Klippas can't get from the front. Klippas can only get from the back. So Acher ba'acher is a protection mechanism. It's a way of guaranteeing that Klippas don't receive the energies they're not supposed to get. That's why when Adam was first created, Adam and Chava was Acher ba'acher, because again, Klippas can only get from the Acharon. By putting the Acharon together, so then you have, the problem is, on the other hand, that we can't have, there is no yichud. You can't have any children, because for the yichud you need to have panim b'panim. But the moment you get panim b'panim, suddenly the Klippas have an opportunity to get a yanika. But once Adam Rishon was created, suddenly now we can have the yichud panim b'panim, the tam hadavar. The reason, ki ayidei ma'asim tovim, that through mitzvahs ma'asius, actions, goyrim ziva ge'elyon v'chulu. We caused the ziva ge'elyon. So therefore, the panim b'panim was caused by the avodah of the mitzvahs. Now we still don't know how we are going to ensure that the klippas don't get any of the energy. But the one thing we do understand is that through mitzvahs we cause the ziva. So beforehand was acher ba'acher, because in order to make panim b'panim, to make a yichud panim b'panim, for that we need mitzvahs ma'asius. But we have to understand. My maisi is dafka. Why dafka mitzvahs maisius? Why not other mitzvahs? Why can't it be machshava? Why can't it be in thought? Why can't it be, a mitzvah of Avos Hashem, for example? So Yuvan, this will be understood. That which it says, and also in the Kisvei Harizal, Shar Man Umad. That's the name of the chapter. Before we started off, Ayin Eitz Chaim Shah HaNekudus, you didn't ask what that means.
Shah HaNekudus?
Yeah, the first line. In the Kisvei Harizal, so the prakim are called Sha'arim, gates. So you have Shah HaNekudus, which talks about the Nekudus, and then you have Shar Man Umad. What is Man Umad? The Rosh Tevis, Man is Mayin Nukvin, female waters, and Mad is Mayin Dechurin, which is male waters. Which in other places in Chassidus is known as Yishirusa de Latata, Yishirusa de Le'ela.
What's Nekudus again?
Nekudus is the little dots which you have underneath the letters.
What does it have to do with this?
That's the name of the Perek. In that Perek where it talks about Nekudus, this idea is mentioned over there. It's the name of the Perek. It's like when I say, if I were to tell you there's a certain something in the Gemara and it's in Perek Cheskas Habatim, and you're going to say, what does it have to do with Cheskas Habatim? It's the name of the Perek. It's the name of the Perek. Shar Manumad. So it talks about the idea of the female waters. That's our awakening towards Hashem. Is the female waters, the male waters is Hashem awakening towards us. So in that Perek, the Arizal writes, he says, Kitzarech tchila lahalis man denukva deza. That in order to create a yichud above, the first thing we need to do is to elevate female waters from the nukva of Zah, the female of Zah. The female of Zah is Malchus. That's the female counterpart of Zah. Uman de nukva hin bechinas asiyah. What is the female waters that we bring up from the nukva, from Malchus? That is asiyah, that is actions. K'moshin is bar Hashem, Perek Aleph. As explained there in Perek Aleph. So, in every relationship, there has to be the initiator of the relationship. And the way it works in creation is that the initiator is the female. The female has to create a desire within the male to unite with her. That's called the Mayin Nukvin, the pleasure of the female. That is the Mayin Nukvin, which arouses the Mayin Dechur in the male waters. So, if we want to create this yichud, this unity between Zah and Malchus, the six midas of Atzilus, which is the male element, with Malchus, which is the female element. So, to put it in somewhat mundane terms, Malchus needs to seduce Zah. How does Malchus seduce Zah? So this is what's called Halas Man, which is, the idea of Malchus is action. Malchus is associated with action. We know in the worlds, we have Chachma is associated with the world of Atzilus, Bina is associated with the world of Bria, the six Midas are associated with the world of Yetzirah, and Malchus is associated with the world of Asiya. Malchus is associated with action. So if Malchus wants to attract Zah, it happens through Maisim Tovim, through our actions. When we do mitzvahs Maisias, then Malchus becomes pleasing to Zah, and that's what causes the Yichud Panim Bepanim. So that's why it says, that Rizal says, that we needed Adam Rishon to come and do Maisim Tovim. When you have Maisim Tovim, then you have the Yichud Panim Bepanim, then you have the Yichud of face to face, and that causes the Yichud, and that causes the flow of the energy down here into this world. That's one point. V'hinei hamaisim tovim nikroim kisuach v'kitzotz hakoisim hanachozim b'choraim. Okay? Talk about the terminologies used in Kabbalah until you understand what's going on. Our maisim tovim in Kabbalah, they're known as the pruning of the thorns that get stuck in the achoraim. You sit down on a chair and there's a thorn over there, it gets stuck on you and your backside. So we need to prune the thorns, as we need to cut away the thorns. How do we cut away the thorns that can get stuck in the Acharon? That's to our mitzvahs. Now, we already know what it means, the thorns that get stuck in the Acharon, because I already explained it earlier today. What are the thorns that get stuck in the Acharon? That's the klippos. The klippos, they get stuck in the Acharon because that's where they get their nourishment. It's not from the pnimius of Kedusha and Alakus, but from the Chetzonius. So these are the thorns that get stuck in the Acharon. How do we get rid of the thorns? Through Maisim Tovim. So there's two points over here. Point number one is, in order to create the Yichud, we need Maisim Tovim. Because the Maisim Tovim are the Mayin Nukvin, which causes Zah to be attracted to Malchus. That's point number one. There's another point, which is that one of the impediments to the Yichud was that we don't want, the Yichud Acher Ba'acher was protecting. It was protecting the Achoraims against the thorns. But Maisim Tovim removes the thorns, which then allows to have a Yichud Panim Bepanim. Because even though the Achoraims are going to be revealed, but that's fine. Our Maisim Tovim cut away the thorns. The question is, how do our Maisim Tovim cut away the thorns? How do they cut away the klippos? Meshikasuv Bishar. I'm not even sure what this stands for. Mem Zayin, Perikei, Bishar. You want to look it up? Or in the back, look across the tables. Sorry? Machshava Zaras.
That sounds good.
I thought maybe Shar. I never heard of Shar Machshava Zaras. Okay, Shar Machshava Zaras. Oh, that's what you're looking up before? Okay, I saw you leafing to the back. And it says in the back, Mem Zayin. What does it say over there? It says in the back, Mem Zayin Machshava Zaras. Unless maybe Taka it is Mem Zayin. Akapon, Perikei. All of there was Shar Hanakudis, Perik Vav. Then we had Shar Manumad, Perik. No, there was no Perik over there. Okay. How is it that our actions cut away the thorns? First we'll do this outside, then we'll do it inside. Every time we do a mitzvah, we know physical objects are controlled by the klippa. Every time we do a mitzvah, the physical object, what are we doing? We are extracting and elevating the holy spiritual spark that's within it. And what happens when we extract the holy spiritual spark? The klippa dies, because the klippa requires the sustenance of the kedusha. And when we extract what's called birur, that's what we call our whole work over here is avodas habirurim. What does birur mean? Birur means to separate, right? That's like a birur, right. When we do a mitzvah, we're being mevarer, that which with the physical object, we are extracting the spiritual spark, which then returns to the source. So now the klippa no longer has any life to it. once the klippa has no life to it, so then we don't have to worry about it anymore, about it being a thorn and leeching off of kedusha. So by us doing mitzvahs with physical objects, and that's why we need to have mitzvahs maisius. Every time we do a mitzvah with a physical object, we are cutting away a thorn, and therefore allowing there should be a yichud, panim bepanim, above, and we don't have to worry about the thorns getting cut up in the Acharon, because by doing the mitzvah, we got rid of the thorn inside. How do we cut away the thorns? Because every time we do a mitzvah, we are elevating the good, the holy, which is hidden within the physical object. Which is within the object with which we're doing the mitzvah maisius. We're returning it. We're returning that nitzutz, that spark, to its source, to the kedusha of atzilus, shekvar huvrara. In the word of atzilus, everything is already muvurad. Everything is already, separated. There is no clip on atzilus. Very good. We finished. So now we understand what the Eitz Chaim means. We understand what does it mean, first we had the Yichud Acher B'Acher, and then through Mitzvahs Maisius we have the Yichud Panim B'Panim, and now we understand the two aspects. Number one, that our Mitzvahs Maisius creates the desire, that's the Mayin Nukvin, which creates the desire, which causes this union to happen, number one. And also our Mitzvahs Maisius takes away the possibility of any possible side effects, because when we do a mitzvah, a physical object, we're getting rid of the thorns. And that which it says over there in the Kisvei Arizal, it says over there that Adam Rishon also, that he made his tikkunim, he rectified things through his davening. Well, davening isn't an act, it would seem. So the Alter Rebbe says, no, but davening is an act. That is through the actual words that he spoke. The akimas fasav havimaisa, we know that the moving of the lips when you speak, that constitutes a maisa. Why? Ultimately, when you speak, that comes from the nefesh habahamis. The energy for you that allows you to speak comes to the nefesh habahamis. And it comes from the blood. It's the blood flow that carries the life force that allows it. And these are sourced in klipas neiga. And therefore, when we speak, we're actually also elevating sparks from klipa, and that's also a form of cutting away the thorns. Habirurim da asiya elon liyitzira ayidei shem ban. Now we're getting to deep Kabbalah, which I'm not going to claim to understand very well, but he says when we're mevarer, when we elevate from the world of asila, through our mitzvahs and our world, they go up to the world of yitzira ayidei shem ban, through the name of ban. We know that there are 4 different forms of Hashem's name, of the Yud Kei Vav Kei. There's Shem Ma, Shem Ban, Shem Av, and Shem Sag. The name Yud Kei Vav Kei, it can be written in 4 different ways. And depending on how you write it, there's a different gematria. Yud is Yud Vav Daled, that's always that way. But hey, how do you write the word hey, the letter hey?
Hey and Aleph.
It could be a hey aleph, it could be a hey hey, it could be a hey Yud. And how do you write vav? Vav could be vav vav, or it could be vav aleph vav, and the same thing with the other hey. So depending on how, this is called the milui. Depending on the milui of the words, the gematria will end up either 45, 52, 63, or 72. So these are the 4 names of Shem Ma, Ban, Av, and Sag. And Shem Av and Sag are higher than Atzilus. Shem Ma is in Atzilus, and Shem Ban, generally speaking, is lower than Atzilus. So Shem Ban is somehow instrumental in elevating the sparks that we elevate over here in this world to the world of Yitzira, Yitzira, Libria, Ulatzilus, and also then from the world of Yitzira to the world of Atzilus. Ultimately, the sparks get elevated all the way to the world of Atzilus, Kamesher Kosov, B'Sharman, as it's explained in Sharman, Drush Yud Aleph Siman Zayin. And here we get to the punchline of B'Zeh Yuvan. With this we understand the Hiruli Avid Midi. Now we understand, again, this is what we spoke about last week, that Hiruli Avid Midi, thinking doesn't do anything. Now we understand why. Why? Unless you're going to elevate, unless you're going to elevate this pleasure to Hashem, which comes specifically from the kings of Klipas Neiga, we cannot draw down the drops from above to bring together the Zachar and the Keva. So we have over here is, so we're talking about the Malachim, the kings. What are the kings? Actually, we made a quick reference to it last week. At the end of Parshas Vayishlach, we have the Eilah HaMalachim Asher Malchu, the Malachim, which are the Malachim of Edom, the kings of Edom, which these are the spheres of Edom, which in Kabbalah talks about these are the spheres of the world of Tohu. They were called the kings. Very, very high levels of godliness. But without getting too much into it, we know that there was an implosion in the world of Tohu, what was called the Shviras HaKelim, where the vessels exploded, and the sparks from the world, the very, very high sparks from the world of Tohu, ended up all over the place in our world, covered up in Klippa. And every time that we're doing Avodah Saburim, we're elevating something, we're elevating actually sparks from the world of Tohu. That's why they're called the kings, because they're very, very high sparks, and these are from the Malachim of the world of Edom, the world of Tohu. So, when we do a mitzvah, a physical act, so we're elevating a spark which is from the Malachim of Nega, the kings, right? A spark which is from the world of Tohu, which is now in Klippas Nega. And through that, we cause to bring down the tipim, the drops. We're talking about obviously the spiritual seed, which is necessary in order to bring together the male and the female in the world of Atzilus. Why? Because the nature of Zah is it doesn't want to. It's not really interested in uniting with Malchus. It's not really, because to unite to Malchus is a Yerida for it. Instead, what does Zah want to do? Linak mi'imay. It wants to nurse from its mother. It wants to nurse from Bina. That's what Zah would rather do. So in order to entice Zah to actually have a union with Malchus, it requires that suddenly when it realizes that Malchus is its way of accessing an even higher level of godliness, which is the Malachim, these sparks of the world of Tohu, so now it's attracted to Malchus, to unite with Malchus, knowing because it could nurse from its mother Bina, but actually what Malchus brings to the lights that Malchus brings to it are even greater than what it's going to get from its mother from Bina, because Malchus has access through Malchus, through Mitzvahs Maisius, it has access to the lights of the world of Tohu. So ultimately, the highest oiras that there are, the highest lights that there are the lights which come about through our elevating the sparks over here in our world. Those are the highest lights. And therefore, through our doing mitzvahs, our source is Malchus. Our source is Malchus, which is the Shekhinah, the Knesset Yisrael. So Malchus suddenly becomes highly attractive to Zah, and Zah wants to unite with Malchus because it realizes this incredible lights that it can access to that, even greater than the lights that it can have through nursing from its mother, through connecting to higher to it, connecting to Bina. Okay. By the way, I recognize this is all deep Kabbalah, but I forewarned you last week that this is what we're going to be doing for the next while, this kind of stuff. So, just an interesting connection to the Parsha. So this week's parsha, we have the birth of Yitzchak Avinu. And Yitzchak, we know, is of all the others, there's something very special about Yitzchak. He was a Oila Tamima. He never left Eretz Yisrael. When we go to Bris, we say Asher Kidesh Yedid Mibetan. So Kidesh Yedid Mibetan. And that who's who? That is Yitzchak. Because Yitzchak was like a holy from birth, because Avraham Avinu wasn't holy from birth, because he was not born from a Tipa Kedosha. Yitzchak, because he was born in Dafka, that's why it was unnecessary to wait till Avraham was 100 years old, till after he had the bris. And Yitzchak was from a Tipa Kedosha. Now what's the difference between Avraham and Yitzchak? So this is the parsha. We have Avraham, we have Yitzchak. So we know Avraham, his inyan was chesed. Zechoir of Nimshach Acharecha Kamoyim. Right, we talk about Avraham Avinu. We ask Hashem to remember our father who was drawn to you like water. Why are we comparing Avraham to water? Because water, just like the wave of water as it goes down, that's what chesed. Chesed is being mashpia, going down. And we find this by Avraham. Therefore, Avraham Avinu, he was in Ur Kasdim and he was in Haran. He went to Eretz Yisrael, he went to Mitzrayim. Wherever he was busy bringing Elokus to the lowest elements of society. He was going everywhere and bringing godliness to everything and to everyone, and that also expressed itself in his chesed, in the way that he brought Elokus, that he had this tremendous achmas zarchim. To who? To anyone, even the Arabs who was, what to say, even the ones who would bow down to the dust on their feet. It's to them also, Avraham Avinu was chesed, chesed, chesed. And then we have Yitzchak. Yitzchak is the exact opposite. Yitzchak is Gevura. Pachad Yitzchak. What is Gevura? If Chesed is milmayla lamata, Chesed is from up down, top down. Gevura is bottom up. And that's where we find what it was the avodah of Yitzchak. So first of all, Yitzchak was the Eilat Tmima Taka. And he never left Eretz Yisrael. Because his idea wasn't to go down to the lowest place. His idea was to elevate. And that's why, which is very strange, but we find in the Torah, what is the main conversation the Torah tells us about Yitzchak? It's about him digging wells. His tremendous effort at digging wells. Which is kind of interesting. He lived 180 years, Yitzchak. Of all the others, he lived more. And the one thing that we have to know about him is that he dug wells.
Why is that so important?
Sorry?
Why is that important?
Why is that important? Why is it significant?
Yeah.
We know very little about him other than the fact that he dug wells. But the answer is because actually digging wells was the Avodah of Yitzchak. What is the idea of a well? When you dig a well, it's not pshat that you dig a hole, or you find a hole and you pour water into it. That's the Avodah of Chesed. Avodah of Chesed is you find a hole, and I'm going to bring water. Gevura is not I'm bringing water to you. Gevura is I'm going to dig and dig until I hit water. I'm going to find the water in the earth. I'm going to elevate you. I'm not going to bring godliness down to you. I'm going to reveal the godliness within you. I'm going to elevate you yourself. That is the Avodah of Gevura. And Yitzchak put a lot of effort into it with Mesiras Nefesh, even after the Plishtim came and they tried to hijack, right? Again, until finally, Rechoivos, right? The final well. That was the Avodah of Yitzchak, was the Avodah of Gevura.
Also was Zorea, Yitzchak,
That is true. But that's one pasuk. I'm talking about there's a whole arichos in the Torah about, that's not saying there's nothing else said about Yitzchak, but the Avodah of Yitzchak was revealing the sparks of holiness within something. Not by bringing godliness from the outside and showering it upon the person, which is the Avodah of Chesed, but revealing the godly spark, the nitzvos within everything. That's Gevura, and that's Asher Kiddush Yidid Mebetan. That is the greatest Avodah possible. To the extent that we say that what is the name Yitzchak, or why is it called Yitzchak? Because Tzchoik Asali Elikim. The biggest tainug that we give the Eibishter is Dafka the Avodah of Yitzchak. When we do the Avodah of Yitzchak, that causes Tzchoik. That's Tzchoik by Hashem. That causes a tainug by Hashem, which is mamish what we're saying over here. It's mamish what we're saying over here. That the tainug that there is lemaila from Maisim Tovim. So you have in Atzilus, you have Zah, right? The 6 minutes of Atzilus, and really they're not interested in down here. They're interested in Linak Me'imay. They wanted us to receive the energies from Bina, which is higher than them. But when we do Maisim Tovim, the tainu that we create above, and therefore the energies that we bring down from above, cause that Zah now wants to actually have a yichud, wants to connect with Malchus because of those tremendous eiros, those tremendous lights that we bring down through Dafka, through Mitzvahs Maisis. Further insight. V'ayin Zoyer Parshas B'kudei Daf Reish Mem Daled Amud Beis. Take a look in the Zoyer Parshas B'kudei. The Isidura, that there's another possible way of going about things, Listakol Chulu. And that is simply by gazing at Hashem. V'hein kavonis hatfila v'yichudim el yonim. And it's apparent that there's a possibility to create yichudim above simply by gazing and connecting with Hashem through the kavanas of davening, v'yichudim el yonim, and thinking about the greater yichudim, l'yodim, masigim, l'istakala, for those people who know and they understand how to gaze and connect to above. So this is an obvious problem. We just said that here that our thoughts don't do anything. You have to do mitzvahs maisis, but here in the Zohar it's mashman. So the Rebbe says, Ki naran shalahem atzman. We're talking here about tremendous tzaddikim who their own neshama, heinman, their own neshama, they don't need to do mitzvahs. Why? Because their own neshama constitutes the mayin nukven. Why? The mesiras nefesh ala Torah, because they learn Torah with mesiras nefesh, ubenefilas apayim. In the fields apayim, when we say, Elecha Hashem nashi esa, which is also the idea of mesiras nefesh, kenoi is known. So the Rebbe is saying over here that for the most of us, we need to do mitzvahs in order to create this pleasure by Hashem. Why? Because we have egos, so the only way that we can cause pleasure to Hashem, not so much through our avodah ruchnis, our spiritual avodah. But when we do mitzvahs and we elevate the sparks, but they're the greatest tzaddikim, that their service of Hashem is with such mysterious nefesh that itself gives such pleasure to Hashem that causes yichudim above. Again, that's not for the most of us. For the most of us, we need to do mitzvahs ma'asiyos, but for the greatest of tzaddikim, their own neshama causes the pleasure to Hashem through the mysterious nefesh that they have. And this also connects to something in the parsha. And that is, that in the beginning of this parsha, we know that it says that Vayira elav Hashem, right? Hashem appears to Avraham Avinu. Right? Vayisa Einav, Avram picks up his eyes and he sees, right, that there are guests coming. So what does Avram say? Anas saver me'al avdecha. He says, hey, don't
Turn away. Go away.
So what do Chazal tell us? That who is Avram speaking to? He's speaking to Hashem, because Vayir elav Hashem, Hashem speaks to him, and Avram sees the malachim, and he goes and he invites them in. He tells Hashem, I'm sorry. Well, can I put you on hold for a minute? And play some music, right? Because I have something more important to do. I have to take care of the Urchem.
Why is that more important?
Sorry?
Talking to the flock of the Shvoch, that should be...
So from this Chazal tell us, the Gedela, Kabbalas, Hachdas Esarchem, Meser, Makabbalas, Pnei Shechina, right? So, Avraham Avinu knew that actually going and having guests is more important than actually speaking to the Eibishter. Imagine, so he told the Eibishter, I'm sorry to do this to you, but I have something which I got to take care of right now. But please, just, I'll not saver, hold on, I'll get back to you. Now, in the Zohar, there's a similar statement. In the Zohar, it says that Reb Shimon said that Hachnosis Archim is ki'ilu mekabel apei de Shchinta. It's as if you are, being mekabel the Pnei Shchina. But there's a difference. The Gemara says Gedei Hachnosis Archim. The Hachnosis Archim is greater. The Zohar says it's ki'ilu. It's as if. So you can say machlokes. Okay, it happens sometimes. There can be machlokes in the Gemara. There's machlokes in the Gemara and the Zohar. The problem over here is that when the Gemara is saying that Achlas Zarchim is greater, it's Meiser Rav. We see from the Torah. We see that Avraham Avinu, obviously, it's greater. Avraham Avinu felt that Achlas Zarchim is greater than Kabbalas Pnei Shechina. So how can the Zohar argue on that? So the Rebbe talks about it. And the Rebbe explains as follows. He says, we realize that in Kabbalah's Pnei Shechina, there are many different levels. There's the Kabbalah's Pnei Shechina, which the average person is capable of achieving. And then there's the Kabbalah's Pnei Shechina of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who is the author of the statement. And we realize that the Kabbalah's Pnei Shechina of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is much greater than our Kabbalah's Pnei Shechina. In fact, the Zohar famously says, when the Pasuk says that 3 times a year, so Yavai calls Churcha, that all the Yid have to come and see El Pnei Odin Hashem, as to see the Eibishter. So the Zohar says, Man Pnei Odin Hashem. Who is Pnei Odin Hashem? Who is the face of Hashem? Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. This is Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai himself represented the Shechina. So when we talk about the Kabbalah's Pnei Shechina of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, we're talking about something which is... So the Gemara, which is talking to everyone, says, you should know, relative to the Kabbalah's Pnei Shechina, which you're shaykh to, which you can achieve, Hachnas Zarchim is greater than that. Shimon Bar Yochai was talking from his personal experience that relative to his level of Kabbalas Pnei Shechina, that was on par with Hachnas Zarchim. So which means, on a simple level, that when we do Hachnas Zarchim, that's on par with the Kabbalas Pnei Shechina of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. It's greater than our Kabbalas Pnei Shechina. It's on the same level as the Kabbalas Pnei Shechina of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. That's one nekuda. Then the Rebbe continues, and the Rebbe says, there's another point, which is, there's a Maimer in L'Kutei Torah where the Rebbe talks about that there are 2 different types of neshamas. There are the neshamas which are like the Sher Habar, and then the neshamas which are like Levi Yasam. The neshamas of the greatest tzaddikim are like fish. They're called in Kabbalah, they're called the Nunei Yama, the fish of the sea. The reason why they're called the fish of the sea is because fish are covered by water. It's not obvious that we're subsumed in our life source. The fish, you take it out of the water for a second, it's It's part of the water. So the biggest tzaddikim, they're like the fish that they swim in the sea. They're swimming in godliness.
That's why it says Seudat Leviathan, the Chachamim use.
Yeah. Well, we'll also have the Sharabar. Now, and one of the big differences between the average person and these Nuna Yama, these greatest tzaddikim, such as Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, who we know, the Gemara says about him that he's Bnei Aliyah, Tirasi Nasai, is that we have to do mitzvahs begashmias. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, he didn't have to do mitzvahs begashmias, which is why he was, even al pi halacha, someone who's Tirasi Nasai at that high of a level is potter from most mitzvahs, or from a lot of mitzvahs. Why? Is that what he mean? They have to do the mitzvahs. Because they accomplish through their avodah ruchnis, they're able to accomplish what we accomplish through, we have to do begashmias, which is why Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was in the cave for 13 years, and when he was in the cave for 13 years, he didn't eat matzah on Pesach, and he didn't have wine to make Kiddushan, he didn't have lulav and esrog, and chas v'shalom to say that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was deprived of the opportunity of accomplishing whatever these mitzvahs accomplished. And the reason why is because Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, his whole inyan was ruchnius, and he was able to accomplish beruchnius that which we need to do mitzvahs gashmias in order to do. So when Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was talking about Achnasas Archim, he was talking about Achnasas Archim beruchnius because that was on his own level. So when the Gemara is talking about Achnasas Archim, it's talking about Achnasas Archim begashmias. Achnasas Archim begashmias is taka gedoyla makabalas pnei Ashchina. Shimon Bar Yochai, when he was talking about Achnasas Archim, he was talking about his Achnasas Archim, which is beruchnius. Achnasas Archim beruchnius is ki'ilu, that it's on the same level as Kabbalah Pnei Ashchina. Which is interesting, that's mamish what we're saying over here. Because what's Alter Rebbe saying over here? That most of us, we have to do mitzvahs begashmias in order to create this man, the mayin nukvin, in order to create this, to give this pleasure to Hashem, that's choik osol li'alakim, that pleasure, which then causes the yichudim in the higher worlds. But for the greatest tzaddikim who have Mesiras Nefesh, someone like Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, Taka, they can, their neshama, in and of itself, their neshama, their avos Hashem, their yiras Hashem, and their kavanas, that itself is pleasurable for the Eibishter and causes the hamshachas, just like for everyone else, mitzvahs ma'asiyas accomplishes. So with that, we finish this Perek. Today is the yard site of my grandfather, Rabbi Yaakov Koppel ben Reb Nassim. Amen. Amen. He's a very special Jew. He passed away long. I barely remember him. He passed away. Today's his 37th yard site. So I was a young boy when he passed away, but I remember him. And he was a very great person. He was a Radomsker Chassid. And the Radomsker Rebbe was killed in the war. But he remained a very passionate Radomsker Chassid for his entire life. Very connected. I know my parents got married. So he made, when they rented the house, he made sure he ran there and brought a Tiferes Shleima. He said, I want the first sefer in the house should be a Tiferes Shleima from the Radomsker Rebbe. That's what he wanted. It was not Chabadnik. No.
So how you guys can become Chabadnik?
My mother became a Chabadnik because my grandparents, they weren't very wealthy, and they wanted to send their daughter to camp. And Camp Amunah was willing to give them a discount, and the other camp was willing to give them a discount, the Lubavitch camp. So my mother went to camp over there. And they say the rest is history. My father also was not from Lubavitch Shama. Father went to Torah Vadas. Anyways, the point is, so my grandfather was a very chashuv yid. He was finished Shas many times. He was on Schindler's List. If you ever heard of it, he was actually saved by, he worked in Schindler's factory, or whatever he did in Schindler's factory.
He's from Poland? Radomsk is in Poland?
Well, he wasn't from Radomsk, he was from Krakow. Yeah, which is in Poland. But I'm not even sure that Radomsk Rebbe wasn't Radomsk at that point in time anymore, before the war.
But it's a Polish town, Radomsk.
Yeah, but I'm not sure when the Lubavitch moved out of Lubavitch in 1917. It's still called Lubavitch. Many of the citizens, they go after the name. I'm not sure if in the early 20th century he was still in Radomsk, but he was Radomsker Chassid. Yeah, he lived in Krakow. So when he passed away, my grandfather, he passed away. Oh, by the way, interestingly, he passed away on today, which is Yud Ches Cheshvan, which is the yard site of the Knesset Yecheskel, which is, if I recall correctly, the second Radomsker Rebbe. So my grandfather was one of the very instrumental after the Holocaust in creating the Radomsker Shtibel on Borough Park on 14th Avenue. 14th on 40, yeah.
Your mother's father?
My mother's father, yeah. His name was Yaakov Koppel Shulkind. Shulkind, yeah. Yeah, when I was a kid, I remember he used to go daven there, he used to go come visit, he used to go daven there, even after he passed away. The Shabbos before the yard site, we would always go, because my Bobby would make a kiddush over there. And what was interesting was my memories over there was that the Shabbos before my grandmother would make a kiddush the Shabbos beforehand. Everyone in the shul got an aliyah, so they cut up the kriya to, why? Because the Shabbos before the yahrzeit of the Knesset Cheskel. So my grandfather was one of the founders of that shul over there, and he arranged every year a chalukas hashas in that shul over there. And
Say Shas was
chalukas hashas that everyone in the shul
like that, took a portion.
took a b'sechta, yeah.
Took 2 shots.
And he arranged that the seam should be on Chai Chesron, the yahrzeit of the Knesset Cheskel. And when he was asked over the years, why Chai Chesron, why not the yahrzeit of the Tzar Shlema or of the latest Rebbe who my grandfather knew and was connected to, he always said, Echava Kavana. He said, I have a Kavana. He made the siyum, went home that night, went to sleep and passed away. That turned out that was his yahrzeit. He passed away that day. So who knows what the neshama sensed and felt. When he passed away, so he left a notebook. He had some very interesting, some writings, a package of writings, Vertlach. And it's like the notebook with a few papers, and then it would seem like randomly, like he would have a thought, he'd write it down on a piece of paper. So it's like weird papers, like on the back of a wedding invitation. One of them was even funny. It was like a package of pantyhose. On the back of the paper he took out and he wrote out, he was a little, whatever paper he had, he would write something and he had a package. So one of the vertlach he has is on this week's parsha, on this idea of Gdela, Kabbalah's Gdela Achnasas Archim Yeser Mekabbalah's Pnei Shechina, so which we just spoke about. And he asked, my grandfather asked the question, which is, okay, we know that that Achnasas Archim is bigger than Kabbalah's Pnei Shechina from Avraham Avinu. But how did Avraham Avinu know?
And he knew.
How did Avraham Avinu know? So, and you realize this can be profoundly disrespectful to the Eibishter. How do you, to run away and to go for this, because there are 3 Arabs standing over there, how did Avraham Avinu know that? Yeah, we know it because we look at Avraham Avinu. So he brings on the Avart of, if I recall correctly, from the Mendel of Rimenov. My grandfather quotes Avart on the end of the parsha, which I think we might have said in the past over here. That it says by the Akedah, it says that when Avram gets on the mountain, it says they ties up Yitzchak, and Vayishlach es yadai, right? Vayikach samachelas, and he takes the knife. The words Vayishlach es yadai, Vayishlach yadai was Vayishlach es yadai, Vayishlach yadai, Vayishlach es yadai, right? Is extra. Obviously, if he took the knife, like every time that someone does something to Torah, he can say Vayishlach es yadai, or if he wants to go somewhere, Vayishlach es yadai. Why does Torah tell us he stretched out his hand? It should say Vayikach samachelas. He took the knife. Vayishlach es yadai. What's the pshat? So the Mendel of Dimnov explains, he says like this, that Avraham Avinu was a Merkava. Merkava to the Eibishter. Merkava means that everything the Eibishter wanted to be done, his body did it. It was automatic, just like a chariot, right? Which it does whatever its driver wants. There's no other rason. So the same thing about Avraham Avinu. So everything he does, his body automatically reacts to the Ratzon Hashem. But then it came time to Shech Tasan. And his body wasn't reacting. Now, really, why wasn't his body reacting? Because Hashem didn't want it to Shech Tasan. It wasn't really the Kavanah. So, and Avraham Avinu is a little surprised. His hand isn't moving. His hand isn't moving to get the knife. So he thinks to himself, Avraham Avinu thinks, you know what, this must be part of the Nisayin. Part of the Nisayin is that I have to do this myself. My body is not going to do it naturally. So Vayishlach is Yodeh. Vayishlach Avraham is Yodeh. Right? And that's when Hashem says, relax. The reason why your hand didn't move was for a good reason, because it's not what I want you to do. So we see that the Ovis, their bodies were Merkava. So that now we'll go back to the beginning of the parsha. Avram sees Malachim coming, and suddenly he realizes he's running towards them. That was his right. How did Avram Avinu know that it's great, that Achnasas Archim is greater than Kabbalas Pnei Shechina? Because his body was running, and Avram knew that if his body is running, that must be the Ratzon Elyon because he's a Merkava. And once Avram did that, now we know that the same is true, obviously, for us, that Achnasas Archim is greater than Kabbalas Pnei Shechina. Shabbos, everyone?
Shabbos.
And next week we start the next part of Kuntres. Okay.